back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek Strange New World, Episode 6, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. It's a good title.
It's a great title.
Good title. Yeah, it's a good title.
They're going back to the TOS tradition of some really cool titles for episodes.
Yeah. Disco did that too. The one that comes to mind is what is it? The butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cry. Is that what it is? Am I getting it right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, gentlemen. It's nice to see you. How are you guys today? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Pride.
You know? Happy Pride. I'm wearing my Klingon Pride metal shirt today.
Awesome. Yeah, I went to a drag show on Friday. Then I went to a parade and bar hopping yesterday. You know, I'm kind of prodded out, but I think I'm going to get back out there today.
I love it. I wish I could go with you. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Something tells me I don't think you'd be prided out, Braxton. I don't think you could.
Dude, for instance, I walked 17,000 steps yesterday just at Pride. Dude, I'm in my mid-40s, dude. I'm tired as hell.
We have a couple of folks in the audience already. Nice to see you, Cake is Eternal and Joel, and also our friend the Red Shirt Reviews. Well, I'm half of that, so that's so cool.
Dude, is Cake still rocking his La'an braids, dude?
Cake?
Yeah, Cake is like a red-haired guy. I feel like I saw...
Cake is Eternal is someone different than what you're thinking. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure I'm supposed to out or say anything about Cake is Eternal. I think they want to be private, but they might... Anonymous, but they might not be a male as far as I remember.
Okay.
But I saw that is it Christina Chong retweet the tweet of someone. That's cool. That fellow had the had the braids on. That was very, very cool. I want to do Leon braid wig. That would be really cool, I think. You know, could you just see Leon braids on me?
Dude, you could rock the hell out of that.
Thank you. So what did you guys think of this episode? I guess we didn't do the episode summary. I'll do one real quick. Do you want, unless someone here feels really compelled to do one? Marcelo or anyone? No,
I did it last week, so I'm.
Yeah, it's true. All right.
I think it's Braxton's turn because I did one the week before. Marcelo did last week.
What are you feeling up to, Braxton?
Sure, dude. Yeah. You know. Okay, so there is the Enterprise sees a ship that is being attacked, so they come to its rescue. They're easily able to subdue the attackers, and then they beam the people who need help aboard. It is in the party that beams aboard. There is a woman that Captain Pike met 10 years ago when he was a lieutenant. And he had a flirtation with her that he never acted on. And also included in the party is a boy and his father. So we end up finding out that this boy fuels a massive supercomputer that makes this world livable. You know, we see the doctor's daughter again. Captain Pike has makes some really bad choices. Has a little love affair. This was not my favorite episode, and in the end, we see that the boy is hooks up to the computer and kind of loses his life. So this is kind of a moral episode. I think we also got B plots with Ahura and La'an doing training, so that was fun. And then there was also a C plot too, but now I forget what it was.
Well, there was also the Dr. Mavenga's daughter. We got a little more of that, and we got space battles. So...
but the thing is, for as advanced as this is later, but for as advanced as their medical technology was, I feel like these people did not have advanced weaponry, but I guess all about priorities, where you want to spend your money.
It's true. It's true. It is true where you want to spend your time and resources, and that's certainly not finding a way to get children to not be hooked up to terrible machines that suck the life out of them. But hey, every society their own. What'd you think of this? I actually saw Marcelo's review, guys. If you want to go check that out later, if you haven't seen it yet. And that's on his channel, and it was on Thursday, right? No, Friday that you
It
released
was
that.
on Friday.
On Friday. So I actually think Marcel has this is his first episode that he liked. I think this season so far a lot more. You like them all, but you like this one a lot, right, Marcel? You want to tell us about what you thought of this episode?
Yeah, I really, really like this episode because of the moral quandary that it presents, the moral question that it presents. I mean, this civilization is technologically advanced, but once we figure out what they have to do to maintain that technological advancement, it's really terrifying. And the thing that I love most about this episode, I mean, you guys already know this, but I like it when writers come up with a concept and they're brave enough to go there. And for about 10 seconds in the third act, I thought Pike was going to save this child, and I thought that he was going to pull him out of the machine. But I'm really glad that he didn't. I'm really glad that he let him die.
He
I
didn't
was
let
like,
him die,
well,
Marcelo.
okay,
He
okay,
did
okay,
like
okay, okay.
for crying in the night. He couldn't do anything. He tried his best, and he knocked him out. Like for
Okay. Let me refrain.
The writers let him die.
Yes, I'm really pleased that the writers let him die, because if we really look at it, if Pike would have pulled the kid out of the machine, what would have happened to the planet? Like it's either let this kid die or let the whole planet die. And I really, really loved that predicament. And the thing that makes it even sweeter is Pike's squeeze for this episode says that the planet is not under Federation rule. So even though during their last conversation before Pike has enough and gets beamed back up to the Enterprise, she says that that you can jump up and down and you can be mad at me, but you can't touch me because we're not under Federation rule. So I really like the fact that Pike's hands were morally tied up in this episode. The other thing that I really, really enjoyed was you guys have known for several weeks that I've been unpleased with the fact that number one has been removed from Pike's side in affairs of state, let's say. And I was really pleased that in this episode, she was basically on his hip the entire time. And I really like that we got a big dose of her and we saw the whole crew work together to solve this particular issue. So I really enjoyed the heck out of this episode.
Cool. And what about you, Dadmiral? What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Marcelo. I did like the moral quandary, and they really did go there. They were brave, and I think that was really, really good. I think to be able, maybe by the time they got to like this episode, that they were really sort of in their stride, and they felt brave enough to be able to do that. And not only that the writers felt brave enough, but the director and the producers allowed them to carry on and carry with the story. Yeah, they could have gone, they could have copped out and said save the boy, but they didn't. And sort of tallying on with what Marcelo said, I do like the fact as well, the way she said it is when she's, I know we'll talk about it later as well, when she says to Pike, how many children are in squalor, how many children are dying, and all that stuff, and and people choose to look away. And this is a really good comment on today, that they don't look away, but we choose to look. That really did sort of hit me for that today, because there are so many people that choose not to look with all the bad things that are going on in this world. they choose not, when people can make a difference, they choose to look away. And I thought that was a fantastic comment on what's happening today. And that's what Star Trek is really good at. It's really good at commenting on what happens today in these stories. And that was brave and good. And it makes me feel that we're really, even more so now that we're in such a good place with Star Trek. That I think it's one of the best places we've been for, since it all started coming back. So that was my thoughts.
Cool.
I,
go ahead, Braxton.
I was going to say that when she was, talking about that, saying that like, oh, well, we like acknowledge, these kids suffering and things like that. You ignore it. I thought that was manipulation. I think the reason that I didn't like this episode is that I did not connect with her. I felt like very early on she was an established liar because Spock was like, "Oh, do you recognize this thing?" And she's like, "Oh no," and then she looks away, and we knew she was lying. And then at the end,
well,
she manipulated him. I think that people excuse their bad behavior by trying to then manipulate other people, and I looked at that as manipulation. And I really did not trust her, and I think that's the reason why I didn't like the episode.
Well, I think the thing Spock was pointing out, she maybe did not know Braxton what it was, but because that was made by the I don't remember. I've seen it 3 times, and I don't remember her knowing. Like, I don't think she knew what the dampening device was. That was something that was made by the colonists to like prevent him from fulfilling his duty. So like I don't think she knew about that, but she and the Magellans in general are definitely, the whole fact that they isolate themselves from outsiders and don't like outsiders is because it doesn't take long to find out what it is that keeps their society, quote unquote, afloat, for lack of a better word. Like, you do any little bit of investigation, you're going to find out that there's this kid hooked up to a machine that's powering their whole society. So yeah, I do think her and her whole society in general, their whole fear of outsiders is because they know they're doing something wrong. And that's, I think, established throughout the episode as well. Like, they tried for centuries to try to find an alternative and stuff like that. So they're trying their hardest not to. They know that their society is predicated on this, but then at the same time, think about this, and that's what's brilliant, I think, about this episode, is that, yes, they are wrong, they're in the wrong by our standards, probably by universal standards as well, but if we were to save that kid, the whole entire civilization would fall into the lava. Like, literally, these cloud buildings would just, like, fall into the lava, and then billions, as Marcelo said, would die instead of just one person. So is that more right, just to save one child from suffering, to go ahead and and so that's the big quandary between them and the people of the other colony and stuff like that, is like, they just think that they're, it reminds me of the Aztecs, or like in history, like civilizations that would do ritual sacrifice to keep the gods away for one more year, like to keep the harvest going, and like, like to, or whatever, just to prevent the end of their civilization. They believed with all their heart that one individual needed to be sacrificed, and there needed to be blood given to the gods. And we didn't get a sense of their gods, quote unquote, here, but that was definitely like the planet, like that the boy was the ritual sacrifice or whatnot. Very cool that you're I love these strong these strong opinions on the episode. I just want to say real quick that for me, this episode, I think, is going to go down as one of the greats of Star Trek. Like, I think it for me, it immediately, it's one of the heaviest and darkest episodes I've seen in a long time, and it certainly is one of the episodes that like gets you thinking, and there's not really an answer. There's no conclusion, that we can definitively say that what could have been done. Everyone did the best that they could, I think, in this episode, as far as like from their own position or their own standpoint. And that's what's so amazing about it, is that like, and then on top of that, it gets you to stop and think, like, we're not quite at the stage of the Magellans were where technologically, but at the same time we do tolerate or ignore a lot of suffering on our own planet for our own conveniences. You know what I mean? Like, I live my life, my daily life. I get my coffee, I got my roof over my head, I've got like the internet, I've got the ability to do this show, like, which is crazy. Yet across the ocean, in many places around the world, children are suffering. They don't have roofs above their heads. They're starving. And I give money to charitable organizations and things like that, but at the same, I do that, and then I'm like, oh great, I'm back into my life. So this episode gave me pause and made me think, like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know, I don't have an answer. Like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to go off and join some kind of organization or anything. Like, there are definitely restrictions in my own life that prevent me, but it's definitely definitely got me to think harder about, am I doing everything I can to, help others to not suffer, on this planet, on Earth, and stuff like that. So lots of good things, and that's what I think. Why I think I really like this episode. Go ahead, Ian.
I actually quite like how they have made a Vulcan phrase that we all know and love, and made it slightly unpalatable. The needs
good
of
of
the
the
many
one
outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Yeah.
And it makes it, for a lot of people, makes it for Pike and us viewing through Pike's eyes, and to a lot of viewers, that one is a child, and they don't like it that it's the child, and I don't like it that it's a child. Why? And they can't figure out why it can't be. For me, I would much prefer it to be somebody my age or somebody older than a child, because the child still has all of its life to live.
Well, and what's
I
more
think,
heartbreaking is that we get to know this kid, and he's like
Yeah.
a brilliant, full of
how
life,
intelligent
like
and all that
loving,
stuff.
very kind child. Like,
I feel that the older generation would volunteer and sacrifice themselves if it didn't mean for the children, but that's
the machine don't want those older folks.
Doesn't want them.
Yet.
No, it doesn't want them, and that's and they can't
They
figure
might
out
have tried. They might have tried, and it's just like, nope, sorry, reject. Give me
But
the child.
it still makes that very famous phrase that we all know and love, and we've known it for 40 odd years, and it makes it unpalatable. And that's that's very clever, very, very cleverly done.
It gives you the other side of that. Although
Yeah.
Spock does teach us throughout Star Trek that sometimes the good of the one outweighs the good of the many.
Oh, that was
So-
Kirk.
That was Kirk.
wasn't
Sorry,
Spock.
thank you.
That was Kirk.
That was Kirk. We don't have Kirk yet. We have Pike. What would have? I've seen a lot on the internet. Like, what would Kirk have done? And I'm curious if you guys think he would have done anything different if this had been a Captain Kirk adventure.
Kirk would have saved the kid and probably relocated the people. Because
come on, a billion people relocate. I feel like as soon as the kid is out of the thing, like as soon as the kid doesn't go in, the whole planet.
Because I was
goes
thinking,
down.
because just hold on. I was thinking while watching this episode the other day, because I've already talked about this episode 3 days in a row already. I'm sick of it. As much as I love it, I was thinking, why didn't they just do what Carol did in that episode of Lower Decks? Why didn't they just move the people off the planet? Do you think that this civilization could have thrived on another planet where they would have had to start from absolute zero?
Some of them have left and are on another planet, which is also harsh by. It also, it's interesting because that planet also has harsh conditions. Like, this is a lava planet. I would love to find out more about these people, the Magellans, because they don't even know why their elders set it up this way, or they have no idea why the machine required. Like, that was an interesting thing too. Is he's like, why, and she's like, we don't actually know why, which is another like freaky, scary thing.
No, but that says another thing about the people of this planet. Like, how can they do something that is this vile without having some actual proof as to why the people who built the machine did it like this? Like what does that say about them, that they sacrificed a child just because they have to, right? It really bugged me that they really didn't think of they really didn't what's the word I'm looking for? They really didn't weigh the the cost of the act that they were committing. It's like they
If
really didn't.
if you guys found out today that like the entire civilization was built upon the suffering of one single individual, would you then and then if you were told, oh, we have the ability to relocate us to another system or another world, but you'd have to start from scratch, like there would be none of like, like literally you'd be like pioneers starting from scratch. We couldn't take a lot of the technology with us. We'd have to go. What would you do? Would you do it?
I think we would. I think they would still take their technology. I don't believe that technology would be gone. So they're not going to leave that behind. Yes, the technology for some of the planet, but I think a lot of their medical technology, that all the technology they have, I can't see that would all be gone. So on that bit, if that was to be on there, I would be quite happy to turn around and say let's up sticks and go.
Geek Filters in the audience. We were supposed to talk about the Cloud Minders yesterday, but I was under the weather, so we canceled Starfleet Boy yesterday. But nice to see you, Aaron. A lost Stratos colony. Yes, possibly a lost Stratos colony. Also, the whole idea of we don't look away is BS. Their entire civilization is based on not asking the hard questions. It seems that way. But so I think that they could probably take most of their technology, but it seems like, and we have to assume this because we don't really know a lot about the Magellans, but it seems like the whatever function this first servant and this machine provides is essential to their sort of comfort, if you will. I mean, they do live in when you look at one of the things I think the episode did beautifully is that, like, when you're a kid, you look up at the clouds and your parents, I don't know if your parents tell you this, but, oh, there's a castle up there. There's a whole, there's like a whole civilization up in the clouds. So you're always wondering. So then the first time I went on an airplane and we went above the clouds, I remember as a kid looking around like, where is everything? Where's the city in the clouds, Mom? And she was like, oh.
Where the hell is Cloud City? You lied to
Yeah,
me.
where's
Liars.
liars. But it had this fairy tale like aspect to it, which was really interesting because I thought that was like, like there were like literally clouds around the floating, structures or whatever. So I thought that was really interesting, and they made it look that way. But yeah, like I wonder how much of their technology they could take with them, and why haven't they explored the possibility of just moving to a new planet that doesn't have lava down below, and maybe you don't need floating cities. It would have been interesting. I think it's okay that the episode didn't give us this information, but just from a curiosity perspective, it would have been interesting to get more info about the Magellans, their technology, like make us understand a little more why they're so dependent. But then again, like I think someone looking outside at us would also wonder the same thing about our society. So, it is interesting in that sense.
It's definitely left it open for a revisit. I think,
yeah,
because there are still so many questions left unanswered. So it could be revisited, whether it's revisited in whatever medium, whether it's years down the line or whatever. I think it can be revisited to ask those harder questions.
It'll be really interesting to go off Ian's point that he just made. If this concept is revisited, it'll be really interesting to see if the writers craft a story around the Magellan people, and the next story that they tell with them is them, for some reason, unbeknownst to us at this point, applying to
admission to the Federation.
Yes, applying to become a member of the Federation. Like I'm dying to see what that courtroom episode. Yes, people. A courtroom
He's
episode.
waiting for
That's
that courtroom episode.
I want a courtroom episode. No, seriously, I want a courtroom episode similar to like the Jughead or something like that, to where Starfleet just weighs the pros and cons of having the Magellan people become a member of the Federation based on their previous behavior.
They know how problematic they are.
They
You
do.
know, when
Yeah, I feel
she was like, oh yeah, like, like you can't come to the ceremony. Like we don't share anything. Like no medicine. Like no visitors to the planet. Like we don't want people to see this. So they would never, at least until they move to that class L planet and are having a really rough time, and all they really have is their medical technology, and they don't have comfort. They would never apply to the Federation. While they're doing that, they know that their behavior is just too ugly.
Mm-hmm.
S. Roy in the audience says the most. This reiterates their comment from earlier. The most gut wrenching Star Trek episode I have ever seen. Gut wrenching is not what Star Trek is supposed to be. Most likely, this is goodbye for Strange New Worlds for me. I will just say that I'm sorry if gut wrenching is not what Star Trek is supposed to be to you, S. Roy. But unfortunately, it is very gut wrenching a lot of times. I mean, like I can just think the child in TNG, or there's like a lot of episodes that I feel like are gut wrenching throughout the history of Star Trek. So I do feel bad
that's where Star Trek's at its best. It's when it's questioning and when it is, it is gut wrenching. It's yes, Star Trek is to feel good that we are, we are improving as a race and everything. But that still doesn't stop. There's still going to be bad things that go on out there, and it needs to show that. It's not all going to be sort of a bed of roses and everything else. And I actually feel that gut wrenching. I know a lot of people have also put, what they're saying is there's a lot of gut wrenching episodes, and that's when some of the best writing actually happens.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, Similitude! Thanks for the reminder. The Visitor. Yeah, there's like a ton. Half a Life. Oh my gosh, that's right. It's true. S. Roy, not to come down on you. You're totally entitled to your opinion. I'm just saying there's a lot of gut wrenching. There's a lot of gut wrenching stuff in Star Trek. So if this was your final straw, I'm sorry.
Talking about like courtroom ones. There's two great TNG episodes. Drumheads one. And what's the one with?
Oh my God, LOL makes me cry. LOL is
makes me cry. But yeah, which is the one with Data's on trial, and basically they say
Measure of a Man.
Measure of a Man, again, where they start saying episode. Slavery and all that stuff. How is that not gut wrenching and focusing on things like that? That's what Star Trek's all about for me. I mean, sorry if Roy, if that's not for you, but for me, that's where it really does get amazing. And I think a lot of people.
I think, to echo Ian's sentiments, I think Star Trek is at its best when it presents the audience with a moral question or a moral quandary, to use my own word, that they have to think about. It's not the galaxy is a very, very dangerous place. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. If you're looking for a show like that, more power to you. But I like Star Trek when it's like this, when it's fun and fluffy, but once in a while.
Yeah, the beauty of Star Trek also is that, and especially in this format of the episode of the week, and not really having like per se a serialized format, is that you can have a different flavor almost every week. So we get gut wrenching this week. Next week might be lighthearted. What's that?
Ice cream.
Ice cream, like ice cream. Yeah. I like this theory. Geek Filter points out that it probably makes all the micro calculations to keep the cities floating steadily. And it makes sense that a mind of a child which hasn't created like these permanent neuro connections yet, would be ideal for something like that, because it would be open to a child is very children are very open to out of the box possibilities that like maybe an adult with lots of experience wouldn't be open to. So it's like when Yoda talks about in the other Star franchise, and the kids help him find the planet Camino, which was erased from the records, and they just point out the most simple thing, and it's like, oh yeah, that has to be the answer. So sometimes kids can see things, or children can see things that we don't, just because their minds are more open and not yet like they haven't had enough experience to understand how the world works yet. So
because
that
they
could
still
be an
question
advantage.
as well. They still question as well.
They're still very curious and stuff like that.
They have, they still have hope.
Yeah.
Some adults don't have any hope left.
Oh, it's it's true. It's so sad, but it's true. Let's talk about lessons with Leon.
She is the Gibbs of Strange New Worlds.
Yes, the Gibbs. I love it. The Gibbs. I love it.
Wait, the Gibbs? Who's that?
It's NCIS. It's
Okay. I don't
Jethro
watch
Gibbs.
NCIS. Okay. I was like,
He has all these rules, and then obviously you've got Lahan saying lesson 1 of security, lesson 2. So for me, that was the Gibbs of Strange New Worlds.
Oh, is that who Mark Harmon plays?
Yep, Mark Harmon.
My.
Yeah.
I love Mark. I forgot about Mark Harmon until just now. Wow, he's so handsome. I might have to go watch a YouTube a YouTube compilation of Mark Harmon.
Actually, a little history on NCIS. NCIS was actually a spin-off of a TV show called Jag. Thank you. I love Jag. Jag is a great show. Sorry, sidetracked there.
Geek Filter says I was thinking of Susan Gibney, who I don't know who that is either. Yikes!
I don't know who Susan Gibney is.
Let me look up Susan Gibney. Hold on. But yeah, so Leon, so Uhura's on another rotation, basically. We've seen her now in engineering. We've seen her in this, and what other department has she done so far?
She was also a note taker in last week's episode, so I don't know if that counts.
She was a note taker. She was
a note taker. She took minutes.
Have you noticed that is in both departments, both Lahan and Hema have underestimated Uhura. Because there's one. It's obviously, if you remember when they were when they were walking to the atmospheric thing, Hema and Uhura. And he asked her the question. She said, "Oh yeah, it's an air filter." And he says, "I hate it when cadets only have." And then she gives the whole spiel. And then I just felt Lahan did exactly the same thing when you said, "Oh, you've just done exactly what I asked for. You haven't gone above and beyond." And she had.
I did.
And I love that she is taking those preconceived ideas of both Hema and Lan and really switching them on their head. And showing just how good she is in no matter what she does. I do like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Joel points out that's kind of like Ender's Game, the thing of the going back a second, but yeah, like the kids doing things that adults can't do. And then we were just reminded that Susan Gibney is Dr. Brahms. Yes, I just looked her up at the same time.
I just watched that episode the other day with Dr. Brahms.
Nice. So yeah, okay. Gibbs, that's who you when you say Gibbs.
Jethro Gibbs. Come on. Jethro.
Leroy Jethro Gibbs.
But yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I also liked how everyone kind of had experiences with Leon. Like, we established that Pike likes to put everyone on cross rotation and different departments and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the scene where they're going up
turbo lift.
Yeah, the turbo lift, and he's like doing an impression of Leon saying, "What is it? A Rigelian tiger?" Something about the Rigelian tiger pouncing. I forget what it was, but then when they get on the bridge, she's like, "Rule number whatever." The enemy takes no breaks or something like that, and Ortega is the one who like finishes the line, and you could see her kind of like suffering, like she's remembering suffering under Laon's rotation, and then Captain Pike just gives this funny smile, like kind of like, oh gosh,
you see that the Sam Kirk thing was really funny as well.
Oh yeah, we got Sam Kirk.
Yeah, tell Laon that you need an hour. Oh, you can tell Laon yourself. Oh no, I don't like confrontation.
By the way, getting Sam Kirk back finally after 5. What he was in like an episode 2, and then
episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2, and then he's gone. They sidelined him for the rest, for this whole thing. So yeah, it was nice to see Sam Kirk. What did you guys think about? Any other thoughts about Leon, Braxton, or Marcelo?
I love Leon, so she's one of my favorites. So anytime that she is training anybody, or anytime she gets any kind of screen time, I'm always sitting here, with a smile on my face and jumping up and down. But I really think that the thing that I love about this episode is that I really feel that we got a chance to see Uhura's skills as a linguist in this episode, because it's been sort of hinted at in previous episodes, but we really haven't seen a lot of it. And when La'an brought Uhura all those data tapes, it was because of Uhura that Uhura was the one responsible for giving us a giant plot point of this episode. And I really like that she got a chance to use her linguistics in this episode, as opposed to other episodes where I feel that her strength has been sort of hinted at but not really shown fully. So I really enjoyed that part of this episode. That really wasn't answering your question, but I really enjoyed that part of this episode.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that the tapes, they pointed them out, but like they look just like kind of like the ones in TOS when they put the tapes into the and they actually did that in this episode. So yeah, I thought that was a cool little callback to TOS. Braxton, any thoughts on Uhura this episode and La'an?
Oh yeah, dude, I love that Uhura deduced the thing, the activity that that the other doctor was up to. I like that. And anything to do with La'an. La'an is actually my favorite character on the show. I love La'an's braids. I feel like they gave us like a good back shot of them today when she was talking to well, not today, but last week when she was talking to Uhura. Yeah, dude, I love La'an's storylines, and I like that Uhura was able to, figure out the lies.
When La'an told Uhura, so you did the bare minimum, that felt too personal. It took me out of the scene a bit. Yeah, it actually had the same effect on me. I was like, geez, La'an, like, talk about not having faith in any of your of these cadets that you're training. But
no, I think I think she feels that way because Uhura's first interaction with with the entire crew was during Pike's sort of dinner thing. Although La'an wasn't there, Uhura saying that she really doesn't know what she wants to do with her life and her career, I think could have been interpreted as someone who really doesn't take her job seriously enough. So maybe that's why La'an and a bunch of other people have these preconceived notions as to how Uhura takes her job. I'm just throwing something out there, but that could be.
But that's I think obviously that's the third time I've actually heard people say that took me out of the scene a bit, because Sean from Trek Culture in his ups and downs said exactly the same thing. Sean Ferrick, that's it.
Shout out to Sean Ferrick, who has chipped his tooth. So that's proof that he's trying to be me because I have a chipped tooth. No, I'm just kidding. But shout out to Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture. Yeah, I haven't seen that ups and downs, but interesting that he thought the same.
Yeah, he did think the same. So yeah.
To me, that is in character. La'an is kind of a nasty girl. She actually wants to hurt your feelings. To me, that was in character. It didn't take me out at all. I thought that it was that it was nasty, but I kind of expect La'an to be a little nasty.
Yeah, to me, that line didn't bother me at all either. I just thought it was something that La'an did. I didn't feel any discomfort from it. I just said, okay, that's a line. It's fine.
Thing is, though, she's head of security, so she's gonna have to. She's gonna be a little bit harder than other people. You have to, because sometimes when you're head of security, you have to make those hard decisions, and I feel that's really does. And I'm with Braxton and Marcelo on this one. I felt that was very much a part of what La'an is. It didn't take me out of the scene at all. So yeah, I agree with these two guys.
By the way, can we just bring up the fact that like La'an is the head of security, obviously for the entire ship, but where is like her team? Like where are the other security people? We don't see the people. Like where are they? Like in. Like
we haven't. Have we really seen a security team yet? Haven't we?
Well,
we haven't seen it.
Yeah, you did when you went down to the there was a few of the team when they went down to the planet with the Gorns.
That's right. That's right.
Even though you didn't see the Gorns, but it was a team, and they got scared by a barking dog, so that shows you what.
um, Speaking of barking dogs, I like that line during the cruiser scene in the beginning during the rescue. What does he say? I have it written down here.
Is it a small dog with something to prove or something like that? It was.
Let me see. I have it here. Hold on. Let's see here. The little dog with the most to prove, and that's true. Little dogs do. For those who've had little dogs, you know they love to they love to stand up to those bigger dogs. I've seen it happen, and it's really funny. I love this design of the spaceship, the cruiser. Also, by the way, just to touch on that scene, and I also like that. Do you guys think? I heard something about Uhura. I think it was on Text Trek where Dave might have pointed out that putting Uhura on the phaser banks might have been a little bit too much, too presumptuous. That La'an should have maybe manned the phaser banks for that because she's still a trainee, basically, or a cadet. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I don't think it was Uhura's fault. I think Uhura was pretty competent. I think phasers are also somewhat automated. Like they kind of have like a targeting system and stuff like that. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
But no, Ian, you go first.
I'm only going to say very, very briefly, but Uhura turned around and said they turned into the fire of the phaser. Right. So she had targeted where she's going to do, and as you hit it, they turned. And you can't account for that sometimes. You don't know what the opposition's going to do. But I also want to say, not blue phaser this time, red phaser.
It hasn't been blue phasers ever.
It has. They have had blue phasers on the Enterprise.
No, like I'm saying in TOS they do, but I don't think this show has ever done blue phasers. They have? Did I get it wrong?
Where?
In season 2 of Discovery.
Oh, Enterprise had blue phasers in Disco, and then they went to red. I don't really care anymore, but yeah, I love the blue phasers. I wish they were blue.
That's just my little bit to defend Uhura. So sorry about that.
If it was the blue phasers, it wouldn't have done as much damage. We all know the red phasers do it. What were you gonna say, Marcelo?
No, I was under the impression that at this time, like firing phasers wouldn't be this simple. Like I don't think that they would be like automated to a certain extent at this time. I think the automated phasers, wouldn't they come in, in TNG and
I don't mean automated, but I feel like there's like, even though it's not really said, I feel like we have like computers that assist us on jet, aircraft and stuff like that assist in targeting and stuff like that. So I don't think it's as big a deal that, I think that as long as your targeting sensors and your targeting computer is assisting you, that like pretty much anyone could get on that, anyone with the cross training. And that's, I think, Pike's whole point is I've noticed that he just has like people rotating constantly, which, in a way he's like, anyone should be able to assume another station. Like in a critical situation, if like, say the security officer were knocked out, like anyone could like really step into their station. And I think in general, like all Starfleet ships are designed that way. But yeah, like I know we don't have like what you're talking about. And in Prodigy, there's a line about it too in the first episode where I think sometime Janeway says something about like the phasers are, like just press the fire button basically, because the phasers can be, can target on their own or whatever. So yeah, I do think that like that gets better later on, but I definitely think that they still have it. I think, but there's not anything I can think of like in TOS where they say that, but there might be, there's so many throwaway lines like that. So you're gonna say something, Braxton?
Oh no, I wasn't actually really gonna say anything. I didn't think anything really about that scene. I was just kind of thinking like, okay, well, like, she is the person who's like at the weaponry console at the time, and so like it's up to her to push the button, and she's never pushed the button before. And like you were saying, Starfleet, well, I could see how that is like very like, I mean, you might hit the button or the control, but the computer's just like doing everything. So I didn't really think anything about that particular scene.
We've all seen this episode a few times now, but going back to remembering the first time you watched it, were you guys tricked by who the bad guy was, or the who was the real antagonist, I should say, to be more fair, in this episode? Did you guys think it was Elder Gamal? I mean, did you guys think that Elder Gamal was the antagonist and that he was up to some no good, or what did you guys think the first time around? Go ahead, Marcelo.
No. Well, the first time around, I watched it early in the morning with me and with my best friend, as you guys know, because I've said it multiple times on this show. But I started to smell something. I was like, I would pay the I would actually give my right arm and I said, I bet you this guy isn't the bad guy. I bet you Pike's squeeze is the bad woman, and I bet you that they're gonna kill this kid. I said it. I was like, and then when it happened, I was like, oh my god, I nailed it. I was like, yes.
I mean, my alarm bells. The alarm bells did go off when they started talking about Ascension. As soon as with Star Trek and Ascension, it's never a good thing. It's not that day. So my alarm bells did go off, but who the actual protagonist was, I wasn't 100% sure when I first watched it.
Geek Filter says as soon as he was labeled to ascend, I was like, well, the kid is doomed. I've seen enough Stargate and like a ton of other sci-fi. That's funny. I didn't get. I mean, I have too, but I totally didn't. I didn't think that's what was gonna happen the first time I was watching. I really genuinely I had this idea that he was like the Dalai Lama, like he was like the spiritual leader of the kind of the Pope of their people. But yeah, so that's what I thought. By the way, where are Braxton's cat? Cake is Eternal wants to know where your cats are today because they haven't been on screen. And so actually my cat's here today. This is Arthur, for those of you guys who have never met him. This is our little space cat who
Arthur.
Yeah, he's on the helm of my starship, so he's in charge of the phasers. You know, cats love to shoot phasers, mostly out of their eyes, but
So it is such a temperate day here that I have the windows open. So my cats are in the windows upstairs and in the front of the house, hearing all the sounds of like the neighborhood and things. Typically, like it's like hot or it's been cold, so I like have the heat on or I have the AC on. But today the windows are all open, so the cats are occupied with like passers-by and birds.
Nice. Steve Fathery, our friend Fathery, says, can confirm I've been shot by cats. They shoot phasers. They shoot phasers and then try to chase them. Oh my gosh, this went into cats. Sorry guys. Cats do. So Ian, what about you with Elder Gamal and just the whole Ascension thing? Did you expect it the first time you were watching it?
Yeah, as I said to you, as soon as I heard Ascension, I thought, I see it, the kid's toast. It was sort of there. But who, as I said, the protagonist was at the time, I really wasn't there. And I think for me, I knew that the father, for me, it caught me off guard a little bit when they first get onto the Enterprise and they said, "Oh, are you the father?" And he said, "Only in the biological sense." And that, I really did sort of go, "Oh, okay, is he an uncaring father? Is he just doesn't care or what?" But you find out later that's him just guarding his emotions, that he doesn't want his son to die or ascend, as it were. So I didn't know whether it was the father or whatever. So yeah, I wasn't the first time I saw it. I really wasn't that sure, but I knew there was something was going to happen to the kid. As I said.
Well, on the surface, their maxims, science, service, and sacrifice, is really it's really noble. It's not a bad maxim, but that sacrifice holds a different meaning after the oh yay, the cats are back.
I had to get off camera for a second because I got jinxed. Like as soon as he said that, like 10 seconds later, like the cat like jumped up, like my headphones was like tangled in my headphones, dude. Mhm.
What did you think of Elder Gamal in general, like the character
Um, he
and the
was
first servant, and actually their relationship? Do you think had he been, he I don't think he ever told the first servant what his fate was, or
no, I
you
think he did.
know, no,
I think
the
well,
you think so? Because he was
no, but
so.
I think
The first servant was like, Captain Pike, you have to take me down to the planet. And it wasn't until he sees the other kid come out of the machine that he's like, what does he say? I wrote that. I wrote that line down too. He says, um, let's see here. He's like, with joy and gratitude. Oh my God. Like, like if he had known his fate, would he have even like, I don't think he understood what was going to go on. So like Elder Gamal wanted to save his son, but never told him what his fate was truly going to be. And I think that's
no,
interesting.
no, but I thought the kid was a little bit too calm during the whole thing. Like if he really wanted to sort of maybe fight for his life in the last second, and if he wanted to book it out of there, why was he so calm the second he entered the machine? Like why wasn't he screaming and kicking, for somebody to save him? Like I don't understand why he was so calm. And the only reason that I can surmise the reason that he was so calm is that I think that somehow maybe his father told him something about what was going to happen to him, and he figured out a way to rationalize that in his mind. Um,
I, I also think that boy is wise beyond his years because of all the, the stuff that he was talking about in his brain. And and he has been being prepared for this. So even
right.
though he might not know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, even if you know like what's going to happen, like I still imagine that like at the very moment of it, like you're still scared. Like you see the body and it's still shocking, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the boy is really wise beyond his years. Like he's not a typical child.
I
Do you think
in
he
my
was so brainwashed that he would have even resisted his own father had the father, think about there's something interesting about this culture. Like Elder Gamal, when we first meet him, he said Pike asked him, "Are you the boy's father?" And he says,
I'm in a biological
"Biologically
sense.
only." So it seems like and then he's like, "Well, I'm a physician, and I used to have patients, but now the first servant is my only patient." So I think that the society, when they choose the first servant by lottery, by the way, it's not chosen. Sorry, when the first servant is chosen, I think they immediately start to indoctrinate, is what I would use as a term. Maybe maybe brainwash, but I guess in their language, it would be they immediately start to prepare him for the sacrifice that he's going to make. So it's possible he understood on some level what it meant. Like he understood that he would be giving his life to this thing, in some way. But maybe when he finally saw the fate of this, like other first servant, that it kind of like dawned on him, like, oh, this is not just sacrifice. This is like a horrific fate, like this is not, maybe, I don't know. But regardless, yeah, the first servant's father didn't seem to me, my read on it is that he went along with everything, and working behind the scenes he was trying to like not kidnap but save, well, yeah, kidnap and save the kid from his duty.
I
Yeah.
wonder. I'm sorry, Ian. I wonder how long do you think that kid will last in that machine before they have to pick another one?
6, 7, 8 years probably. Like I feel like the other kid, like maybe he was probably 6, 7, 8, and like that
Okay.
kid is now ready to take. I mean, that's not that bad. 6, 7, 8 years per kid. It's not like you burn them out in 6 months.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I mean, that other kid did look a little crispy. So maybe 6, 7, 8 years or months would be fine. It was
I think it's years. I do think it's
years,
years.
years, not months.
It's normally the mileage that gets you, not the years. But I just wanted to sort of go back and saying why the boy wasn't screaming. I think he was terrified, and sometimes when you're absolutely
You
terrified,
can't scream.
you can't say anything. You can't scream. You can't. you can't do anything. It's a bit like like when you watch a TV program and or a film and you see people drowning and they're all over and it's the arms are flailing, and that is the furthest from the truth. You're actually taught that if somebody's drowning, they are quiet and they're not moving about. So because it is the terror bit takes over, and I think that's probably what happened to the boy, that he was so terrified. That's why he didn't say anything, but you could see it in his eyes and in his face that he was terrified.
Let's move over to Dr. Mabenga. And what did you guys think of the whole? What was that reaction, Marcelo?
That guy. I'm sorry, guys. That guy needs to go to jail. Because.
Jeez,
I swear. Look. And this is not about his adorable little child, okay? I swear, he is breaking Federation protocol up the yin yang to save his daughter, and I think that sooner or later he may cause a serious accident on the Enterprise because he's in search of this cure for his daughter. That's all I have to say. Yeah, sorry.
I think
he's already done that.
Yeah, and I think and I think I think Una and he figured out a way for that not to happen again.
All right.
Also, he it is an interesting point you bring up, Marcelo. I hate to say, because
I win.
both you don't win. Well, maybe you can win, but both he and Una are on the DL here about this stuff on purpose, because I don't think even Captain Pike knows about the daughter.
Yeah, but also you bring up a good point. If Captain Pike doesn't know about the daughter, can you imagine? Can you imagine the legal rigmarole that they're going to be in if Starfleet ever brings them up on any of this stuff?
There's going to be a courtroom episode, Marcelo.
It's
coming. It's coming. There's going to be a courtroom episode. I know it, but I think they'll be absolved, Marcelo, because ultimately, I think both characters have proven that they have, a tragic side, but that ultimately they're doing the right thing. Unlike you, Marcelo, who you sentenced that poor little girl to death a couple of episodes ago, even though you admitted you were wrong.
I was wrong.
There you go. This is why he's no longer Chief Medical Officer of the Enterprise.
Yeah, that's why.
Because of Marcel. But no, seriously though, this was finally a little development, and they even mentioned in the previously on really Star Trek, clip. They mentioned the whole there's one planet out there that's got to have something that we don't, and this was the planet. But how sad was it that they don't share their technology with anyone? Even later on, when Pike confesses his situation to Alora, she's like, well, we don't really share our technology, but you could come live with us and become one of us, and then maybe we'll share our technology. And Pike's like, yeah, no. Later on, he's like, yeah, no, forget that. I'm never coming back to this hellhole planet again. If I can, unless it's to save the next kid or whatever. But
planet of death.
It's amazing how quickly they bend the rules when they want to, isn't it? No, we don't share, we don't do that. But if you stay with us, you'll be fine. But that bending,
it's all it's all to do with the situation, right? Everybody bends the rules concurrent to the situation that they're in. So
yeah, true. Very true.
I really like the scene where the boy, the first servant, was playing with the doctor's daughter. For me, that scene, it made me think that what the doctor is doing with his girl is very cruel, because instead of playing and living her life, she spends the time in the transporter buffer. In the previous scene when he was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh, Daddy, you're reading me the same story," and he was like, "Oh, girl, I'm so busy." But then I was thinking, that seems simple. Dude, there should still be bookmarks. Can't you just fold a page? Are you really too busy to take a second to just fold the page?
I love that that's what you're focused.
Braxton, there's been times I've read a book and I've gone, I've read this. I've read this part. I have done that. I have physically gone, I've read like about 2-3 pages and I've gone, no, I've read this part.
And also, that scene gave us, it was a good, like we were able to see like some of the boys' positive attributes, like he's like caring and he's like super smart, so I think that scene like served us well in like a few different cases.
Also, something that I loved about that scene is I was wondering if the girl was actually, if Mbenga's daughter was actually aware that she was in the pattern buffer. And I really like that the writer chose that specific moment to tell us the girl is aware that she's stuck in a pattern buffer. And she is aware that she is in a precarious situation. But you're right, Braxton. I'm so happy you pointed this out because what Dr. Mbenga is doing is not only illegal, but it is sort of torturous to his daughter because she can't live the life that she was supposed to live because in a way, Dr. Mbenga is being selfish for his own feelings and his own personal needs. He just doesn't want to say goodbye to his daughter, which is really sad.
But wouldn't you say that any parent would do anything within their power to save their children?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, but there has to be a point where Dr. Mbenga realizes that no matter how much he loves his daughter, he can't keep doing this because he's putting other people at risk for his own personal feelings towards his daughter. So
he's no longer putting other people at risk. Remember, Una provided like full power, like a dedicated power line and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah,
right. That is true. I'm sorry.
But Braxton brings up a good point that he's kind of robbing his child of this. But at the same time, I can't think of anything else I would do as a parent other than to try to, it's like, it's almost similar to how today we induce coma in patients in order to kind of like stabilize them so that we can find a way to treat them or, whatnot. And we don't quite have the technology to put someone on freeze, properly right now, but like, that's always been a possibility is that like people with terminal illnesses like have wondered, can you put them on ice until the cure comes along, so, but then what are the implications of that? You were born of a time, you have a life in that time. If you're frozen for like 100 years, let's say, until a cure comes along and then you're unfrozen, you've kind of missed your time. And now you're kind of part of another time. So there's a lot of, it gets very complicated. It isn't an easy cut answer, I don't think, as far as like
there's that TNG episode.
Yes.
Actually,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
The TNG episode where that company froze all those people and then Data finds it and then he unfreezes all the people against Captain Picard's
and they're cured.
will.
They're cured of their bits, and then it's the female character, because obviously it's the two men and the woman, that she realizes that it's her great grandson or something. Obviously it's the spitting image of her husband, but it's I can't remember the name of the episode, but I remember the episode itself.
Great episode.
Geek Filter says, based on, and this is a good point, we do see Dr. Mbenga on Enterprise in TOS. He doesn't seem to face any consequences.
I don't care. He's going to be fired. I don't care.
Well, he's not chief medical officer anymore because it's McCoy. So
he does seem to be demoted, though. That Geek Filter does point that out. Aaron does point that out. La'an versus Magato, who will win? La'an for sure will win. La'an wins that one for sure. I want courtroom episode starring Robert April. He was really underused in Spock and Mac. Yeah, Marcelo's wanting that courtroom episode. I think Robert April would make a great addition.
For my courtroom episode, it would be really great if Robert April would bring the Enterprise crew up on charges for Dr. Mbenga's behavior and for number one's complicity in Dr. Mbenga's behavior. And it would be really cool if Pike learned all about all this crap at the beginning of the episode and he was actually dragged into it as well. But
Jill also says
that he's the prosecutor. Could you imagine if they bring Pike as the prosecutor?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's
man.
Measure of a Man, don't you? You've got Measure of a Man. You've got sort of that type of thing where you've
Oh,
got...
like Robert April makes Captain Pike be the prosecutor for
Yeah.
Una.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an
like
interesting
Picard
thing.
did with Riker.
Interesting. Well, actually, Picard didn't do it, but what's her name? She was
the judge advocate. The judge advocate makes.
I thought it was
Riker.
Picard who did it.
No, she was like, and if he shows one sign, if he even for 1 second looks like he's not doing his job, I'll do the trial in favor of Maddox or something like that. Yeah. She was like very hardcore about it, and Riker does a good job. It's true. I'm happy about Mbenga situation because he's no longer being CMO, is being explained very yeah, it seems like there's going to be a not so well, who knows, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that all turns out, but it is very interesting. Also, Cake says, I bet Mbenga goes to a starbase to research more, or once a cure is found, to save his daughter, then comes back to the Enterprise. I do think Rukia will I do hope, rather, that Rukia will have a happy ending. And he doesn't seem to, like, based on him, having told her exactly of her situation and everything. I like that too, Marcelo, that you were pointing out earlier. Like, Rukia seems to understand her situation, unlike the first servant, which I think is an interesting contrast, where he has I feel like he doesn't understand that what ascension truly means, or maybe he believes he does.
Well, they actually say it's ascension to the throne, don't they? They don't tell you what the throne's going to do to you.
They never say the throne. They just say his ascension, and that's all. Like, so, that could mean a lot of things. Like, depending on your culture, you could ascend to a throne, yes, or you could ascend to an alternate plane of existence where you're watching over the people of the planet and preventing them from falling into. It's literally like the "Don't Fall into Lava" game that kids play, but in real. I
was thinking it's a similar thing to that guy in Lower Decks, that guy who wanted to ascend, right?
and then he's like, it's burning. I don't understand.
It's burning. I said giant koalas, the meaning of everything. So I'm wondering when that kid dies, is he going to see a koala? I'm sorry. That's too much. I'm sorry. That's too much.
Marcelo, why is the koala smiling? Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
We almost, this kid almost dies earlier in the episode when we thought the shuttle exploded, the one that they were tractor beaming, the cruiser and stuff like that. There was a scene earlier with Spock where I thought was really touching with him and the first servant, showing again another. This is what's so heart-wrenching or gut-wrenching, as S. Roy pointed out, is that you really, really like this kid. I mean, that scene with Spock was really touching, and like, Spock's like, dang, like, I've never met someone your age that knows about like, whatever the radio degradation thing or whatever it was, right? And then he, it's such a cute scene. And then later on, that does tie into Spock finding the first servant, who had been transported into like a cargo container or whatnot. And, now I'm like, dang, I wish they hadn't found, like, I wish Spock hadn't found the kid. Like, there's all these, like, coincidences or, like, things that go against this poor kid escaping.
There was one bit in that scene, the first scene in the sick bay, that was so unlike Spock. Because they turned around, because they were talking about the speed of subspace communication. And Spock says, approximately 54, whatever, at a time. That's not Spock. Spock would come up that it would be 54.7629 whatever times quicker. For me, that's the bit they just got slightly wrong. Because we all know him from TOS and everything. He's always precise in his calculations.
Well, I beg to offer a possible explanation is that Spock thought he was talking to an ordinary kid and decided and made the decision not to.
Spock's the same regardless of who he's
decided
talking
not to make it too complicated, and then was pleasantly surprised.
That kid knew what he was talking
about.
I'm
saying that's what I'm saying is he was pleasantly surprised after that, but he may have underestimated the kid, which is kind of evident in the performance there. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Spock does like to give like exact calculations, but come on, You're like, come on, Ian. Even
Oh,
Spock
it's,
is.
well, come on!
He's a half human. He's not a full.
Strange New Worlds is that good. It's Marcelo's actually he's rubbing off on me. I'm starting to nitpick.
I'm winning. I feel your anger.
Spock was impressed by the kid.
He was.
No, but I just want to point out that the writers really did the smart thing with giving us this much time with that kid, because as a result of us spending so much time with this kid and being charmed to the nines, when he, finally goes to his ascension, we feel the loss and the heartbreak of this kid basically dying for the civilization. If the writers would have done it the wrong way and not have us spend time with this kid, I think this story wouldn't have worked.
Mm. You start empathizing with the kid.
Right, yeah.
You start liking him because he is a likable kid. He's
Yep.
obviously is intelligent and everything else, because he was. What did he call the scanner provincial or something? But
Yeah, he's
still
like
intriguing.
it's like rudimentary or something, but it's still interesting.
But even though you can tell he's highly intelligent, he's still a likable kid. He's not Sheldon Cooper or anything like that, where he just annoys people. But he's nice and everything else. And
I like Sheldon personally.
I love Sheldon
I wanna
Cooper.
hit
Who doesn't like Sheldon Cooper?
I want to hit him.
Yeah. I just feel sorry for Leonard.
He seems this kid seems highly intelligent, but also very empathic or empathetic.
Well, he can communicate
perhaps.
well. He's
He
in touch,
does.
So, yeah.
He takes others' feelings into account and things like that. I mean, he still says a few things that are a little snarky, but he's so sweet that it comes across as all right. Like when he's like, he says a few little things like, "You guys talk so loud, I couldn't help it."
It's like when he says to Spock, he said, "Oh, I think I could make a subspace generator out of this bed."
Exactly. But regardless, you're right. The kid's very likable. But moving on from I think we talked a lot about those things. We haven't really touched on Pike and Laura. What did you guys think of Pike getting some romance this episode? And unfortunately, it was not meant to be. She's a little bit. She's not exactly someone I think he'll want to associate with anymore. But what did you guys think of the whole setup? Like, Starcross, he met her when he was a lieutenant, saved her from, flying her ship into a pulsar, saves her again from another exploding, another potential situation where she's on a
catastrophic situation.
Yeah, catastrophic situation. This whole coincidence gets them to rekindle their like kind of romance a little bit that they'd never actually. He had a crush on her, but he never actually got to act on it. So they finally do act on it.
And boy, did he act on it!
Yeah, was it cool to see our captain getting down and having a little romance here?
Oh yeah! Oh hell yeah! I think the fact that he had some bound chicka wow wow with this girl, and I'm sorry, and and the fact that he confided in her to tell her his big end game, basically, I felt was all in service to the end of this story, when she sort of betrays him, and she sort of tells him, why, the whole thing about the planet. I felt a big thing of betrayal for Pike, especially at the end of this episode, and that wouldn't have worked if Pike didn't confide in her, didn't sleep with her, and didn't, have this past with her. So I thought their relationship was played very, very well in this episode, and I loved how the writers sort of set it up for the big betrayal at the end of the episode for me.
Right on.
It's what Marcelo's saying. I think it's been written well. You feel for you feel that bit for the boy, and then you actually feel that Pike's been betrayed, because he feels he's been betrayed, and you feel that because of what he's gone through the episode. It's a love that didn't quite happen before, but he feels that there's a chance. But at the end of it, she betrays him. She doesn't. She does everything what she thinks is right for her race and her world and everything else, but he feels betrayed, and you feel that for him. That you're going to feel it that way.
All the coincidences with the rescuing. Cake is pointing out, what are the odds of that? And Geek Filter says, yeah, that makes it feel totally planned somehow. Either that or the line was emphasized oddly. Yeah, I wondered if there was a point where I wondered if Alora had something to do with like that. But it was all coincidences from what I could tell. It's like they just happened to be. Oh, look at the cat! They just happen to. They just happen to be in the system, and all these things. I think those things were coincidences.
Because the Enterprise was only meant to be there for mapping. It wasn't.
But it does feel like it does feel like at one point, on my first viewing, I was like, oh, I wonder if there's anything going on here, like a little bit more, which is clever because all these little kind of red herrings were like keeping me from guessing the actual thing, which a lot of y'all guessed, especially those who read the book. I forget the name of it, that the story was kind of based on. Someone mentioned it. I think it was. Maybe it was Joel who mentioned it earlier, but I lost it in the chat. So Joel, if you're still listening, let us know what the book was called and the author, if you remember. But someone mentioned it on our, I think either on our spaces. Oh, here we go. The ones who walk away from Omelas, and who's the author? Let me see. I gotta give. Because I didn't know about this story, but I'm going to have to read it. And also Ursula Le Guin, thank you. So I haven't read any of Ursula. Have I read anything by her? I don't think so. So I'm going to be checking out that short story, Ursula Le Guin, K. Le Guin.
I had heard that it was it was an original idea from Gene Roddenberry for a TOS episode.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that at all. No, everyone online is comparing this to, and Geek Filter just wrote, I never walk away from omelets. Neither do I, Geek Filter. That's hilarious. It's only a 5-page short story, so I'm going to check it out. But maybe, let's see when it was published.
73.
73? Thanks, Admiral. Good research. So yeah, I don't know if it was an original story by Gene Roddenberry. I hadn't heard that. What'd you hear about that?
It was again Sean Fair. It was Sean.
Oh, okay. Everyone go. I've got to start watching these ups and downs in a timelier fashion. I always watch them after, like next week, so I got to start watching.
I tend to sort of watch the episode, and then. Later that same day, I will watch the ups and downs.
Geek is also confirming that this was supposed to be a TOS story. How cool is that this was supposed to be a TOS story as well?
There are so elements you can see that would fit a TOS story. Instead of Pike being in bed with Kirk, there are sort of things that I could see that would make a TOS one. But obviously, they've reused it, which is great, I think.
Very cool, and thanks Cake is Eternal for sharing a link to the short story. So definitely gonna check that story out, and also I gotta do some more research and see what the if there's a treatment or anything lying around for Gene's original episode on that. Any other thoughts on Pike and Laura before we wrap it up for the day, guys? Or anything else from this episode?
Yes, I love the fact that we got. I said this already, but I'm gonna say it again just because. I love the fact that we got more number one, and I want my Chapel episode. Where the hell is my Chapel episode, guys? Damn it.
Well, when you hear the opening log being from Nurse Chapel, that's when you'll get your Chapel episode. So far, my little observation has proven to be correct. Whoever does the opening log seems to get the focus of the episode. And I would say that this is definitely a Pike-centric episode. I mean, exploring his past a little more and stuff like that.
But Chapel does have a good line. She does have a good
She
point.
does.
Have you got anything to eat? Does this look like a mess hall?
Yeah, she does. She does.
And
She
I know
does
we're
look
gonna
good.
get Kiva Goldsman confirmed on Twitter. Someone was asking, I think it was Trekkie Bill, about more Chapel and Dr. Corby, and they said standby. So I think Chapel's gonna get a big storyline. I like the ending of this episode. It's not clean and pretty. There's no bow wrapped around it. I think Pike is just horrified. He's helpless. He feels helpless to do the right thing, or what he perceives as to be the right thing. And I like that closing shot of him staring at the pulsar, and I just love that the pulsar was actually pulsing and everything, and it was very very interesting. I feel like there's still plenty to talk about this episode, but we are running out of time on here, so
I just want to say that I did quite like that the elder did choose to help Mbenga as well.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Yeah,
At
the end of he lost his own son, but he thought, like, maybe I can help this patient that
He said it's not a cure, but it will help, and I actually quite like that. I thought that
giving
was
us
quite good.
buying us a little more time for poor Rukia, which I like as well. Yeah, it's true. Very cool. So any other closing thoughts, Braxton, Marcelo?
I just like that this episode, for the most part, used everybody, and used everybody exceptionally well.
Except Hammer.
Because-
Hammer's missing. You didn't
yes,
notice Hammer's missing.
good point. Where the hell is Hammer? I mean, what do you think? They have him locked up in engineering or something? Where is he?
Yeah.
No, but I thought this episode was very wonderful. I thought it was great.
Oh, that's interesting. Stress-Free K points out the style of buildings and dress is also reminiscent of the 16th century Ferdinand Magellan era, famous for the Magellan Straits. Oh, and Majalis. That might be a direct reason why that's very
I thought
cool.
it was to be Magellan. So
Magellan, yeah.
And also that the place where they filmed that was also it was used in Billy Madison, Adam Sandler film.
Oh yeah.
Of all the films, and I think the question's been answered. But what is going to become of the elder? Dr. Mbenga points out that he's requested passage to the colony.
Prospect 7
colony.
Yeah.
Is Prospect 7 something we've seen before, by the way? I feel like that sounds like something.
Not sure.
My
My question is to you, Braxton. Has your view changed after what we've discussed, or do you still not like it as such?
No, I don't like this episode. I think that when I rewatch this season, this will be the episode that I skip. I did watch it twice to talk to Starfleet Boy about it on Thursday. But when I thought about watching it a third time today, I said, you know what? I just can't do it. I'll just have to go in with like the memories being foggy. I just can't put myself through it again. So no, this is not. This is not my favorite episode. And I don't know, like it's like some of the moral stuff, like with the kids, but then also, me and Laura just got off on the complete wrong foot. I didn't trust her from the very beginning. I found her to be very deceitful. I found her to be manipulative. Men are very dumb sometimes. Even our Captain Pike is proof of that. Like, I don't know, like when he went in the room with her, I was like, oh, like, why are you going in with this woman who is obviously lying to you? But I guess he isn't perceptive enough to know it, even though we have been shown that as the audience. But but dudes make really stupid decisions.
He was also very defensive when they were telling him, like, oh, we have to tell you this information away from
why did I have to beam up? Yeah.
And he's like, why do I have to beam up? And like, what could you possibly have to say that you can't say in front of her? It was like it was a little mean. I thought he was a little out of line there, but it's like,
he's the captain, he's allowed.
Yeah, but like, this is your crew that you've served with for I don't know how many years, and they're telling you, Captain Pike, we can't say this in front of Minister Laura, and he's like, oh well, like, I don't understand why you can't tell me this in front of her.
But if anybody can be rude to anybody on the ship, it's him.
Come on, Marcelo. He's usually not rude. He was just under her spell, is how I'm gonna put it. He's a lonely man. He knows he's gonna die. he needs a little love too, and sometimes you got to get it off of you got to get that off your ship. Like it's more compelling when it's not someone who you're serving with, it's just like, he had a moment of weakness. I think, but Braxton, that's okay. Like, I'm glad you came on to share your thoughts about it. And I can understand that sometimes things are just kind of like hit a little too close, and like this episode's a bit, as S. Roy pointed out in the chat, like that was the last straw for him, for the whole series. Fortunately, you're going to keep watching the series though. By the way, I give this episode a 10. I forgot to give my rating.
I did too.
You gave it an 8.
No, but I didn't give my score on the show yet.
Okay, sorry. You gave it on your show.
That was the score on his show. That was the score on his show.
Braxton, do you have a score for this episode? Like, do you want to give it a rating from 1 to 10?
6.
6. Oh, that's still pretty high. It's above average. It's very cool.
Also, let me just say, how come you with Braxton when he doesn't like an episode you use kid gloves, but when I don't like an episode you take my head off? What the hell?
It's favoritism, Marcelo. It's favoritism.
It's not the problem. I didn't have a problem with you liking or not liking an episode. I just sometimes disagree with your chain of command takes. And that gets me all triggered because I don't think of Starfleet as a military organization.
Yeah, I do.
And there's so much evidence that it's not a military organization, but people are still so stubborn about it and so insistent just because it looks at times like a military, that it's a military. But I have further proof the ranks don't make sense to us because they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to make sense to us. It's not a military by our standards. It's a whole different thing. So that's why I get triggered with you, Marcel. That's the only reason why. Although there are some that's the only reason why. But also I love differing opinions, so don't get me wrong. If I start getting defensive, it means I'm excited. So you've excited me, which is a good thing. It's like a good thing. You stirred up Starfleet Boy, and that's always that's not a bad thing at all.
Guys,
final thoughts and rating on this.
Guys, I thought this episode had a lot of potential, but there was a lot of things that I just hate about it, and I just thought that this was one of the worst episodes of the season so far. So no, I can't keep a straight face. No. I absolutely love this episode for many reasons that I've already said on this lovely discussion.
Thank you.
And for that, I will actually do something that I don't do often. I will actually bring up my original score by 1 point. I will give this episode a 9.
Wow.
So, very cool.
Oh my God. That cat has lovely eyes, by the way.
That's Ahsoka, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's Ahsoka, yeah. We also have Ezri, who's not on camera, but Braxton's two cats are Ahsoka
He's
and
somewhere.
Ezri. Admiral, what about your final thoughts and a rating, if you choose, for this episode?
I actually, knowing the way that Marcelo likes with kids, I actually thought he'd be glad that the kid died. That's just...
Positivity, yes.
Only joking. I'm with Marcelo for a lot of this. It's a really, really good episode, and also with what you said, I think it's gonna probably come out as one of the great episodes of Star Trek throughout the whole franchise. I think it's gonna be that. It's gonna be divisive because I think the same way as Braxton struggles with it, there's gonna be a lot of people that struggle with it, and I understand that. But it is for me. It was a great episode. I think it brought everybody there. It was a Pike centric one, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a great episode, and some even like some of the really good TOS episodes have not ended on a high. Where it was joking and everything else. Like the City of the Edge of Forever, where Kirk says, "Let's get out of here," and it's there, and those ones really do sort of get me. It's sort of in there, and for that, I'm giving it a 9 as well. Right
on. Well, very high marks from our panel today on this episode. Audience, let us know what you thought. So as the audience gives us their ratings, and there's some interesting discussion going on about gun culture. I think this episode touches on all of it. It is mostly child exploitation, I think, but I think that's a fair point. Stress free K, that it is very relevant to an immediate problem here in the United States as well, where children are in fact paying the highest price for the privilege of having a gun. Is that privilege really worth it, is a question that we're asking a lot right now here in the United States. So yeah, that's a really good point as well. Folks, where can people find you online? Let's go ahead and start with you, Braxton.
Find me at on Twitter at Leviathan026.
Nice. And hopefully, well, you don't have to share them on there, but hopefully you'll share some Pride pics with us later on. You know, you can send me a DM if you want to, so I can live vicariously through you. If you're going to go do more Pride stuff today, it'd be fun. Marcelo, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, the best place to find me and everything that I do is on Twitter. I'm at CreekFanatic88. There you'll see the link to my link tree, and it gives you links to both of my podcasts and my YouTube channel, which every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I review the newest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So if you're around at that time, you know, come and say hi and tell me how much I suck for what I have to say about the episode.
I won't tell you that, but I might tell you how much your opinion sucks. No, I'm teasing.
It was a great pleasure to be here today.
Thank
as
you.
Always, and thank you for inviting me. It was great fun.
It's always fun having you guys on. Thank you for coming, Marcelo. You make this happen. Dadmiral, hold on. Here we go. All right, what's going on your channel?
Do you know what? I'm so impressed I did that with PowerPoint. Every time I see that, I did it with PowerPoint. All right, the sound effect, no, but the rest of it, yeah, it's all done with PowerPoint. And I'm quite impressed with myself that I did that with PowerPoint. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now TikTok. I am now on all 4 platforms, Dabble_UK. YouTube and TikTok primarily is my Lego builds. I did post a video yesterday of the Dederodex starship. So that went out yesterday, both on YouTube and TikTok. As I said, come find me, come chat with me. I'm there. Next month, I'm actually going to the London Film and Comic Con, so you will see me back in cosplay again. So we'll be cosplaying next month, at the beginning of next month, if 2 of the outfits arrive. If not, I've got a couple of others I can use. But yeah, so come find me and say hi, and on Twitter, Instagram, and obviously thank you to Starfleet Boy for having me on both your chats, because it's been great doing it.
We have a celebrity in the house because you could play Captain Pike or Anson Mount's stunt double, according to Rebecca Romaine, who just retweeted your tweet.
Rebecca Romaine, yeah.
And I'm just gonna put you up on close up because your hair does look really good. It does. You are going for that Pike's Peak there. It looks like
it's growing.
But his hair is like way shorter than Pike's is. By the way,
he's growing it. He's growing it, Marcelo.
It is growing. It's growing.
Yeah, but I'm like,
oh, look at it. Did look pretty big there.
Yeah,
what were you gonna say,
Marcelo? Yeah, I just want to point out, like, why is Pike's hair getting bigger and bigger every episode? Is nobody like paying attention?
I don't think it's getting bigger. Is it? Is it getting bigger every episode?
Well, I actually noticed that in season 2 of Discovery, that his hair got longer and longer as the season went through. Yeah, I did notice that.
That might be a thing that they're doing. Interesting.
But I am loving the latest meme. The Johnny Bravo meme is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, right.
The first time I saw that was Trek on the Tube did something funny about that, and I didn't know it was Johnny Bravo. I thought it was Vanilla Ice because Johnny Bravo looks a little bit like Vanilla Ice to me. But Jill says, did they mention the Cloud Minders? We did not mention Spock's brain, but that's good call out. Nice reference to Spock's brain, where they that was like a similar kind of story. So,
yeah, there was no reference to Stratos at all.
No, in our No, in our discussion we did talk about the Cloudminders. We just
Oh yeah, but no, but even you could have they could have actually said something like that in the episode. They could have mentioned Stratos
right
in it as well.
A 9 from Jill. It looks like 10 from Stress Free K. And then let's see what else. Starfleet in general, with of course scientific exploration added. That's something different. So yeah, it looks like pretty high marks from the audience as well. Audience, thanks for tuning in. If you guys are around in an hour, we'll be on. I'll be on Trek Central, and maybe some of these guys will be in the chat with our friend Fathery. So go and check us out there on the Trek Central channel. We'll be talking about all the things about this episode, as well as interacting with you all and answering your questions in the audience, as well as talking about just Star Trek stuff in general, like all the news and things like that. So come and join us there in less than an hour, in 55 minutes.
55 minutes.
Thank you again for joining us, everyone. Sorry we didn't have our TOS discussion yesterday, but we'll be back at it next week with the Cloudminders. And thank you for everyone who attends our spaces on Thursdays. Braxton, thanks for always being there on Thursdays for that. Twitter Spaces. Friday nights, we've been doing an Obi-Wan discussion, so it's getting pretty crazy. 2 more episodes of Obi-Wan left, so if you'd like, join us on Starfleet Boy After Dark for those discussions. And then Saturdays is TOS, and then Sundays is Stranging Worlds. What are you going to say, Dad?
It's lucky we don't do an Orville one as well, really, isn't there?
Starfleet Boy is not a fan of the Orville. So,
heresy.
So sorry. I might appear on a panel if anyone else is doing an Orville discussion.
I will say watch season 3, because season 3 so far is absolutely fantastic.
I have been watching it, and the reason I haven't been saying anything is because I don't want to steal anyone's joy, but I think it's total garbage. So I'm sorry. I do. Really? I think it's terrible. But anyways, I just don't want to suck the joy out of anyone who's enjoying the Orville. So I haven't been saying anything about it. I don't want to do that. But since you asked me, I told you now. But anyways, we don't want to end on that note. Don't listen to Starfleet Boy. Live long and prosper. Audience, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And I am going to watch For All Mankind. I got to get into that show because I hear it is good. So, all right, live long.